we are incredibly blessed and lucky to have Dr. Charmain Jackman here tonight. Charmain, Dr. Jackman is an amazing resource. She has been a supporter and advocate of William James College for a very long time. She's the dean at Boston Arts Academy. She's also the founder and CEO of InnoPsych, the founder of the Boston Women of Color in Psychology Network. She's a clinical and forensic psychologist with a great deal of expertise.
So a little bit about my story. So I describe myself as a mission-driven therapist entrepreneur. But I learned to be an entrepreneur from my mother, who worked a full-time job as an insurance agent and had a side hustle selling Avon products. And eventually, she was able to quit her full-time job because she was making more money at her side hustle. So my grandmother, who's on the left, she was also an entrepreneur. And she sold Bibles. So you would walk around the neighborhood in the country, take buses, selling Bibles. So entrepreneurship is in my blood. You all have a personal brand. All of you, every one of you. So how do you make sure that you have a brand and the brand is communicating what you want it to communicate? Because guess what? People are already making impressions about you, making decisions about you. And the idea of branding is about being intentional and being able to intentionally, authentically, and consistently communicate your value proposition to people who make decisions about you. It's the idea that how you see yourself is aligned with how other people see you. That's what personal branding is. Because our stories are important, and we need to be able to connect with our stories. Simon Sinek, who wrote the book Start With Why, his philosophy is that a lot of companies talk about what they do and how they do it, but they don't talk about why they do it. And as we talked about, we showed those brands, they've spent money in helping you communicate why they do what they do, because it's so important for you to connect with their story.
So many years ago, I went to a church sermon and the pastor was telling us about when you're born and when you die, and that's what goes on your tombstone. He said those two things are set in stone. He said, but the dash, the smallest part in the middle, is the most important part on the tombstone. Because he was saying, what did you do to make your dash count? So I'm trying to live my life to make my dash count.
I love that. That emotional connection that people have with you, that stays, right? So we talk about persona, two things. Your core values and your chemistry. Again, you can't copy someone else's personal brand. You can't copy somebody else's experience. Your expertise is going to be your expertise. So how do you bring those things that you are passionate about? How do you combine that with your education? That's part of creating your niche, right? Thinking about what is the impact you want to have. When I've done this workshop many times, a lot of the clinicians in the room, their trainees, the students, this appearance often comes up, particularly as people are thinking about interviewing. So Forbes magazine reports that about 85% of HR personnel use social media, in terms of checking people's social media, use that in their hiring decision. So they're out there, they're checking you out, and they're making sure that there's someone that they would want to associate with their brand. So what happens when you don't talk about the things you've done or accomplished, particularly in the workplace? What happens?
You don't get recognized.
You don't get recognized. People assume you're not doing anything, right? You don't talk about it. And so that's one of the key things. If you want to move up in your career, you have to do the talking. That's owning your personal brand. Do you have important contributions to make? Have you been waiting for people to invite you to make those? And so owning your contributions, owning your value, and then getting out there and letting people know about it. That's what the mission is about.
This has been a brilliant evening. Thank you guys so much for being here and joining us. And thank you, scholars. You guys are